Good evening. It is my privilege to propose Stefan Avanessian for the role of JCR Welfare Officer. I've known him for about 2 years, and those of you that remember back to when he first joined, he's come a long way since being that fresher that jumped into the skip outside market bolts on only his third evening in Durham. I think it's difficult to find someone in Hatfield that doesn't know Stefan and hasn't been helped or touched, a man in a welfare sense, by his loving and caring nature. He's one of the most genuine characters I know, and I think he'd be perfectly suited to a role on the exec. So without further ado, why would he be a great member of the exec? He's heavily involved in everything to do with Hatfield. To name but a few, he was junior and senior male welfare, senior bar interact, which I like to remind everyone regularly. He was a freshers rep, he's the bassist in Kinky Jeff, he canoed across Scotland. And I'm reliably informed he's a committed member of the Hatfield B pool team. But I think he's now decided to knuckle down and really focus on the things he's passionate about, and that is welfare. He's clearly an ambassador for college in everything he does, and he gives his all. Secondly, he's very organised. He manages to do all these commitments whilst doing a painful engineering degree, which is about 25 hours a week, which is not pleasant. He's also fun. I live with him. I've committed to living with him next year, which some may see as a dubious decision. But he's enthusiastic. He's got a personality which just spreads throughout the room. He loves formal, and as I said, he gives everything. So why junior JCR Welfare Officer? Oops. He's got the welfare experience, having been both junior and senior welfare. He's worked with Jamie part-time as his carer, so he knows how to deal with these situations. I think his biggest positive is he is approachable and hence accessible to everyone within college. He's not the stereotype welfare. He doesn't come across difficult to talk to. He's very easy to talk to. Sorry, I said that twice. I'll wrap up. Anyway, like I said, although biased, because I live with him and he's one of my best friends, it's clear to me and many others that he's the most friendly, helpful, welfare and genuine people in Hatfield, and I think that's why he would be the best candidate for this position. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Joe. Anyway, right. So, Isabelle Horler will be the perfect candidate for JCR Welfare Officer. Not only does she have the experience and the commitment for such an intense role, she has the personality and the heart for it. Izzy is a huge people pleaser, and she'll stop at nothing to make sure that everyone is happy as possible, even if this means missing nights out just so that we can all get our tea and toast on time. As an avid participant in Duck, she's already organised events including a lot of the Duck Week and the Christmas Jazz and Cocktails, to name a few, and has many more events lined up. And she does this partly because she wants us to have a good time, but she does it because she really cares about the charities that the events are supported by. In terms of personality, she's very easy to chat to, trustworthy, patient and empathetic, but most importantly of all, she actually listens. She'll take on board what you say, she'll actually give you advice that's helpful, and in the end, you actually feel like you've sorted out all your problems and she's spoken about 6 or 7 words. It's not funny. I've known Izzy for about 2 terms, but I actually feel like I've known her for a lifetime. She's made a very big impact in not just Hatfield's community, but the university as a whole. She'd be a caring, compassionate, and considerate welfare officer, and I'm proud to call her one of my best friends. Wow.
Okay, so I'm honoured to be here this evening to propose Davide for the position of JCR Welfare Officer. Now, call me shallow, but one of the first things I noticed about Davide was his amazing sense of style. And of course, when I learnt of his Italian heritage, this came as no surprise. And I have since realised that there are a few other Italian stereotypes which prove Davide to be Hatfield's ultimate JCR Welfare Officer. So, stereotype number 1. The sun always shines in Italy. Davide is eternally optimistic. I quickly recognised how Davide is an upbeat, thoughtful and fun guy. When you are down, Davide will be the first one there to pick you up and be there to listen to you. Davide's approachability and respect for confidentiality are all key aspects to being a fantastic JCR Welfare Officer. Stereotype 2. Italians are passionate. It would be hard to find someone more passionate than Davide about the college welfare system. Davide has been a crucial member of the welfare team right from the word go, and he has the necessary experience and passion to make it even better. With Davide as your JCR welfare officer, he would make a more effective and diverse welfare team, introducing specific roles such as a secretary and a publicity officer. He would use social media to make sure welfare has continued presence around college. Stereotype 3. The mafia rules in Italy. Now, I am in no way accusing Davide of heading up an organised crime bracket here in Durham. However, Davide does advocate the idea of a stronger Hatfield community and understands the importance of teamwork. As JCR welfare officer, he would introduce a family brunch, getting livers out into college and encouraging cross-year communication. I'll be quick. Stereotype 4. Italians are a bit chaotic. Not true. Davide is reliable and never lets you down. He, as well as making sure those condom points are always well stocked, promoting welfare campaigns and studying for his law degree, he is treasurer of the Art Society and many other things. Basically, we can rely on him to represent us as a student body. So I urge you all to vote for Davide to be JCR welfare officer. He's enigmatic, dependable, and very forward-thinking about welfare. Thank you.
Firstly, how would you approach the question of confidentiality? In which cases would you break it, and what would you do if the student involved didn't want you to do so? Stefan, do you want to start?
Confidentiality is a key part of welfare, and there's always the question of when can I break confidentiality. And the thing is, you have to be as honest as you can with the person you're dealing with, and you can never promise complete confidentiality, because that would be lying to them. Because fundamentally, if they are a danger to themselves or to someone else, then you have to go to someone of a higher authority and explain that this could be potentially harmful. And I'm not saying that you should go and talk to your friends or maybe the next level up. You can go straight to Anthony Bash if you think it's such a big issue. Having worked as a senior this year, if there was an issue which I felt was to a large extent a massive problem, then I would go to Anthony Bash. But I had the chance to go through Catherine or Jamie. If I was to receive the position of JCR welfare officer, I would have the advantage of going straight to Anthony Bash and telling fewer people, because it's better to keep it sort of more contained.
As Stefan said, obviously confidentiality can never be sort of guaranteed 100%. If the person is a risk or a threat to themselves or others, then obviously the issue needs to be taken to sort of a higher power if it can't just be dealt with by welfare officers. But furthermore, if, as you said, it can't be guaranteed, and that has to be known when a person comes to you with a problem. But yes, as previously said, approach the sort of senior tutors and university counselling services to provide the necessary advice if mere signposting from a college point of view isn't sufficient.
So confidentiality is a key thing about welfare, and I think Hatfield having such a great welfare system, they have already a great system of confidentiality whereby there's policies which the welfare team adheres to. Therefore, I'd look at that and just refresh myself about when you meet someone, what the issue is. I think that's really key, is what the issue that person's bringing to you. It's you determining whether it's too small or too big, and telling them, listen, this might be a more serious issue in the future. Do you mind if I approach Anthony Bash or later on? And so I think, first of all, you have to talk to them and see how they feel about it, and then talk among the hierarchy of the welfare team. And then, obviously, Anthony Bash is like a big dog of welfare, and so if ultimately he deals with all the big issues.
How would you go about ensuring that welfare continues to be accessible for everyone in college?
Obviously, if you're actually living in college, welfare is a lot easier to access. So I think it's really important that livers out are given sort of the same opportunity to access welfare as easily as livers in are. So I think it's really important to ensure there are welfare events and sort of drop-in hours specifically for livers out. But also the welfare of students living abroad is still of college concern. So I think keeping in contact with them is also really important. Also just generally making sure people are aware of when they can come in to drop-in hours and what they can get, what supplies they can get, and what advice and support college can give them is another really important part of welfare.
So on my manifesto, 3 key areas, and one of which is accessibility with social media. So I think social media is a huge thing nowadays in our world, and I'd really want to go on that roller coaster ride. So the execs had a really good push into trying promoting the website, and I think through that you can really make welfare accessible, whereby you're allowed to, for instance, I was imagining an idea of having a Dropbox on the website whereby you're able to say, okay, if I'm tackling with this issue but I don't want to go to the welfare team, I could go look into here and then see what I could go through as a process. I think accessibility with the people that you pick on the welfare team, that's my second point for on my manifesto, is the idea of diversity, trying to create new roles and trying to get the whole college in a welfare team, trying to diversify in that. I think just trying to be, just showing that you're there, an accessible person, really picking the right people. Yeah.
One of the points that I like to push on my manifesto is that I feel that I'm quite accessible by a wide range of people. So I feel that there are people who will come to welfare with a problem, and then I feel there are people who won't. So rather than trying to encourage the people who probably will already go to welfare if they want, I want to expand it to people who perhaps think, oh, there's a stereotype about welfare, I don't feel comfortable talking to them, sort of encouraging and making them seem like it's not what you think it is. It is, you can come along. And as a senior bar intern, I like to think I can encourage more sort of events. I mean, in welfare we have got a campaigns officer, and I think it's really good that I have this link with previous ENTS experience and welfare experience. We're going to bring them together because there is this clique system, there will be everywhere. And I don't want to stop this happening. This is a natural thing people do. You have similar friends, you get close, and these friendship circles, they're okay. But what I really would like to do is to bring them all together to an event. For example, on Hatfield Day, we were talking about how there should be things for different people. You know, like some of the lads like to do punching, to like boxing, and the numbers and stuff, and various things like that. Not each other, sorry, and that's just one example how I want to get all the friendship circles together so they can sort of experience like one event with all different types of people in it and really sort of socialise, and they'll realise that we're all just people. Let's all get on.
Okay. Assuming one is appointed, how do you feel your role would complement the role of the VP Welfare, and what would you do if you disagreed on something? Yeah.
I looked into the role of VP Welfare to see what exactly the role has, which is different to JCR Welfare Officer, and there are a lot of VP responsibilities, and sometimes people don't really see what goes on because it's very much behind the scenes, as general welfare is. And there are a lot of responsibilities, which is why I feel that the JCR Welfare Officer should complement the VP Welfare in terms of sort of not looking after, but sort of helping them, because I mean the VP has a lot of things they need to do, and if perhaps if they fall short on various welfare things, like maybe they can't make a few meetings or it's a lot of responsibility, the JCR Welfare Officer will be there to help pick up the pieces. And also, people are different, we all have different views, so it's really good to have someone else there to remind you, like, so if you have this idea which you think might be hilarious, the other member might be like, no, that's a bit weird and crazy, don't do that. And then it's good to have that feedback and bounce ideas off each other. And it's sort of, because welfare is quite an intense thing and really important, I think it's good to have two people look out for each other. Really.
And obviously the role of JCR Welfare Officer is a key in supporting the VP Welfare, especially with sort of helping them fulfil their own duties, as it can be it's a really heavy job to deal with. Similarly, the JCR Welfare Officer should support the VP in their own welfare, ensuring they're sort of sufficiently coping and happy. Similarly, if they disagree on a matter, obviously that you can easily discuss, hopefully come to terms with something. If it's a matter that both parties firmly disagree on, then and if compromise can't be reached, I'm sure an issue can be open to the welfare team or the exec in general, and hopefully at some point agreement could be reached.
So the VP welfare is a huge role, as most of you know, and I think with the introduction of JCR welfare officer, a lot of that was in order for them to help and assist the VP with all their VP kind of side, because they do loads of things that you guys don't realise. They sit on 5 committees, and on top of all that, they do all the welfare side as well. So I think I'd really see it being a fusion of really assisting the VP when she or he is struggling with their workload, because, I mean, at the end of the day, we all have a degree to do. And I think with the matter about if you disagree on an issue, I think, personally, I'd always try and just talk it over the person, try and negotiate, see what is frustrating them. But also, I mean, if that issue becomes a big issue between you and a rift, I'd then obviously Anthony Batch has a weekly meeting with both VP and JCR welfare officer, and then I'd suggest to the VP and say, hey, what if we see with Anthony and try and all together try and solve the issue.
How would you deal with people who came to you outside your normal drop-in hours, and how would you balance being available to college with looking after your own welfare?
Sorry, could you say that again?
How would you deal with people who came to you outside your normal drop-in hours, and how would you balance being available to college with your own welfare?
Okay.
So with people approaching you outside your welfare hours, it actually happens quite a lot. And I think as a role, it's something that you have to be approachable and confidential. So you'd say, okay, let's try and meet up at some time and point. I mean, the welfare, there's a welfare room, which is a great resource. You can always say, if you don't feel like you want to be in Hatfield to talk about this issue, we could go somewhere outside, some kind of, not dodgy. I mean, I can't think of the word. Just a place where not many Hatfielders are there. Varsity, actually, surprisingly, has no one there in the middle of the day, which I found out the other day when I had to go to the Ergo Challenge. So, potential venue. So yeah, I just like trying to keep it and just trying to deal with the issue as best as possible. I think with the idea of second bit, what was it again?
Second bit was looking after your own welfare.
Yeah, looking after your welfare is, I think, a massive issue. I think your welfare is the most important, because in order for you to help others, you need to be physically top-notch, not top-notch. I didn't mean six-pack abs. I don't have those. So, so you just need to be just mentally fit, not too stressed, just trying to keep up with it. So I think time management, so that's one of my key skills, and just really trying to, and if there's an issue you can deal with, that's why we have a welfare team to delegate, as well as like Italian VP welfare. I'm finding this a real struggle. So it's all about compromising, talking to one another.
I don't have a huge number of contact hours, so I would be sort of more than happy to make myself available if someone wanted to discuss an issue out of their open hours. If it was such a pressing matter that they felt the need to approach me, then I'd be more than accommodating. Of course, the drop-in hours are there for a reason, but if there's a welfare issue at hand, then that's of utmost importance. With regards to my own welfare, I think in order to be an effective JCR welfare officer, you have to sort of ensuring welfare is as good as it can be before you can actually tend to the needs of others. So obviously just having time to sort of chill out and do other activities, like I do various college activities and university-wide societies, so I think just making sure you have some downtime means that you can, when you're performing in your role, you can just sort of fulfill it to the best that you possibly can.
Okay, well, you're going to be out in Clue, and then someone really drunk is going to come up to you, and they're going to be like, oh, Stefan, this and that and this problems. And one of the things which I was told by the senior welfare officer who handed down to me, which was quite important, is that you've got to really gauge the situation. And I personally feel I have the emotional sensitivity to understand when it is and it isn't appropriate to sort of deal with an issue. So yes, I'm not saying on a night out don't deal with it, because it could be a bad time to do it. If you feel it's a good setting, you can. But at the same time, linking and looking after your own welfare, you have to decide for yourself when it's too much. You've got to say no. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with saying no. If someone comes up to you and says, "I've got this problem," and they explain the problem, and you're not comfortable with it, you feel it's going to compromise you in some way, saying no is the best thing to do, because fundamentally you can't help people unless you're in a good position to do so. And I also think it's really important, going back to VP working with JCR, I think it's really good there are two roles, because I mean, working with Jamie on a personal level, as well as within welfare, I feel really comfortable if I need to tell him anything that is bothering me. So for example, if I have a drop in hours coming up and I feel emotionally unstable, then I feel very comfortable with telling him this, and that's something I really want to work on if I achieve the position. I want to have a really good working relationship with the VPs so that it can I can look out for them, they can look out for me, and then our own welfares will be supported.
Last question. How would you aim to balance the drop-in hours and welfare aspects of your role with running campaigns? And would you prioritise one over the other if necessary?
I think obviously both are really important aspects of the welfare role, but I believe that perhaps drop-in hours are more important, as you can deal with individual issues, which as a whole maybe campaigns don't always cover, but equally campaigns are really important to make sure you're reaching every member of the college in covering issues that are important to them, that affect every member of the JCR and even the MCR. So I think in order to cover both of those, you need to balance time well. I think in utilising various aspects such as the JCR website and the welfare blog and everything, you can promote the campaigns in that way as well. So you can balance the two while still ensuring you're making the best of both.
Having held drop-in hours last term and this term, I really do understand the value and importance of them. And again, as a senior ENTS rep, I'm also completely in favour of campaigns. And I also want to again boast this link that I have between the two. And I really actually like the way that this year we have 4 senior welfare reps, 3 of which do the drop-in hours, and then 1 is a separate campaigns officer, which is really useful because it really aids in it's like you have someone there who's concentrated completely on the campaigns, and you can it takes a load off your mind. But I also think the campaigns are important. I mean, there are some people who, they look on Facebook, they say, "Oh, I've been invited to this welfare week, can't be bothered, I'll skip it." And there are other people who think, "Oh, it's brilliant, it's great." And what I'd really like to work on is to get everyone thinking, "Oh, let's have a look, maybe it's interesting," and then they think, "Oh, there's something in there that I would enjoy, I want there to be something for everyone." So again, the campaign is only as important as it is well made. And the drop-in hours are very valuable themselves. So I think there's a good balance between them would work, so it's really how you approach each one. A bit more? No.
So both things are crucial for welfare, but they tailor different things. So I think with that, when you approach trying to juggle both of those things, it's really just time management, saying if a member of that welfare team needs to do something in the welfare campaigns, let's not put him on a Tuesday from 6 to 8, let's move him to another time. So I think it's all about time management and knowing how to sort people out and their priorities as well. I think with welfare campaigns, it's been great what Jamie and Catherine have been doing about how they've changed and restructured the welfare team, and I really want to push that on, and that's one of my welfare points, my manifesto points, is really streamlining the welfare team in order for both the top 3, the 3 senior welfares and the VP and the JCR welfare officer to concentrate on their welfare hours, whilst having a streamlined rest of the welfare team in order to deal with the welfare campaigns. So having the campaigns officer, which already happens, having a publicity officer, which is able to really deal with just getting those posters out, putting them up, getting a supplies person, knowing that everything's all right. So yeah, I just really like time management and knowing how to allocate and delegate to different people.
Is anybody else got questions that they'd like to ask?
Daniel.
Are there any new things that you want to implement into the welfare system today, or any pre-existing things that you might want to change?
Davide?
Yeah.
Thank you, Dan, for pointing out that, because now I can put on to my third action plan point. So the third one is all about community, and I think Hatfield has such a great Hatfield spirit, we should really milk it. So with the idea, what I've loved doing is being like a dad this year. I think family events are crucial to really getting that whole cross-year border thing. So family brunches were one of my big things, but also getting societies involved. Getting, for instance, because Kinky Jeff are always there for like any event. What about getting the Art Society to be planning the artwork for an events campaign, or getting the social secretary and working together about, oh, okay, we're having this all-college social, can you help us do this, this and this? So it just really helps and distributes everything along the different areas of college. I think just like an idea which has been touched upon by Amy, I think, about the year abroad, really getting them through, and international students, really approaching every single person, so with the year abroad getting these JCR films videoed and casted so that when they come back they know what's happening in Hatfield. Okay, time is up, so yeah.
As Davide mentioned, I think it's really important to sort of build on the family structure in college. I think there's scope for sort of a lot of family socials and events, which I think could definitely bring sort of college and the years together more. I also think there's sort of scope for sort of welfare projects, bringing together different societies, or perhaps sort of a post-secret style theme that could, again, sort of be welfare themed. I think obviously the welfare structure of college is quite specific, so you can't really deviate from what is actually needed. But the idea of sort of welfare themed socials and sort of evenings in college could also be sort of made use of. So there's ways that everyone can get involved, and it doesn't just have to be sort of in coming to drop-in hours, but sort of just hanging out with the welfare team and spending time together.
When it comes to new ideas, the juniors are really enthusiastic. I remember when I started off as a junior, I was like, oh, let's put my idea forward. And then if it gets carried through, you get really excited because you see, like, oh, I did that. It's happening. Like when you make a poster, you're like, oh, that's my poster. So I think there's always going to be loads of new ideas that people are going to put forward. Some of them are a bit weird, and you have to sort of filter them out, which I'll try my best to do. But I also believe that a lot of the ideas we have already, because we've been around for a long time, the welfare team, it's had its time to sort of process through what are good ideas and what are bad ideas. But I just want to update and refresh the ideas we have already and make them more accessible to more people.
Sorry, I'll ask another question. So, welfare run various campaigns, social events, and need to organise the purchase of various supplies. How would you go about allocating the welfare budget to ensure that people get the most out of the resources available? Yes.
As it happens, I buy the supplies for welfare. I get a little text saying, oh, we need more paracetamol. I'm like, oh, okay. So I already know a bit about how it works in terms of the forms you fill in, the reimbursements you get, the online payments. Also, I'm not sure I've mentioned it, but I was a senior rent rep. So I've worked a bit with budgets before. And I think it's quite good because we have the system we have, again, like about streamlining and all that. We have our tea and toast presidents. They know what they're doing. There's two people together, so they can really think over the budget rather than having the VP and the JRO trying to coordinate like tea and toast and all these campaigns. And what would be quite a good idea is, in terms of recruiting a campaigns officer like we have already, I think is to liaise slightly with the social sec. So see candidates who wanted to go for NSREP but perhaps didn't, because I think they would make really good candidates for budgeting and making events.
I think obviously it comes down to sort of supply and demand with the various supplies that welfare offer. So you need to look at sort of the trends and what people want, and then perhaps where sort of extra money is being put, which doesn't necessarily need to be, so you can ensure you're using the budget the best way you can. As Stefan said, there are people in charge of buying supplies, so it's really important then that they obviously know what's needed, so you've sort of got that treasurer aspect to the welfare team. So I think that's really important that everything's covered, because you don't want to find that you're lacking in certain supplies. Similarly, as Tea and Toast has mentioned, frequently run out of bread and chocolate spread throughout the evening. So I think again it's seeing what people need and what people want throughout the week and evening and whatever, and just making sure that everything's covered through good budgeting.
So with budgeting, I think it's a really crucial point, because if you know where to allocate stuff, you'd be able to better and efficiently distribute welfare around college. With the idea about how to approach budgeting, I think I'd go back to previous records, look at what the previous welfare teams have done, how they've structured it, see what's been more utilised, what hasn't, and therefore say, okay, let's scrap this, let's go for this, let's push more money into this because people need this more. I think one of my ideas was getting a suppliesman/treasurer person, whereby their role would be being that accessible person, whereby if there's someone living out wanting, I don't know, all this stuff, they'd be able to say, okay, I'll go do that, or and just really, because I think supplies also drains the welfare team's efforts, and so by that you'd be able to really just allocate that to that person, and then be able to check through and see that they're doing everything appropriately. But yeah.
So obviously all three of you guys have been on the Nightline weekend. How did you find it? What did you learn from it? And how do you see welfare as being different to what they do at Nightline? Yeah, Davide first.
If you haven't done the Nightline experience, it's 2 grueling it's 2 grueling days. Definitely go for it. It might be sometimes traumatizing, but push through. I think it was a really great experience. It really taught you really applicable skills, such as the biggest thing is like listening, just sitting there and just really deflecting people's questions, and just being that listening person, because often people don't want you a barrage of advice, they want you to be able to just really release their emotions and say what's been frustrating them. So I think that's what I really learned. Learning also massive stress, like it's such a stressful process going through Nightline. You have to go through like all these big topics, and I think it has really strengthened my resilience. Really gave me so much knowledge about how to approach different things such as eating disorders, bereavement, self-harming, and suicide. So I think it was a great experience. Yeah, I feel like I'm plugging it more. Yeah. Anyway.
Obviously Nightline helps with any welfare issues because, like Davide said, they tackle the big topics. But there will always be things that people don't, like they just can't handle. They'll say, I don't agree with the way they do this, and there's always these clashes. Like, I can't tell you too much because obviously it's confidential. But, and I think working on the welfare team, it is important to have this Nightline training because you do learn confidential listening, because it's one thing to sit and listen to someone, it's nothing to take in and process what they're saying, what it might mean. It might be one thing to them, you might think it's another. But, sorry. I also feel that in welfare, if someone comes up to you, and if they say to you, what should I do? In welfare, you're allowed to give a bit of advice, but I think the most important thing is that you explain to them, like, I'm not advising you on what to do, I'm not telling you what to do. I am no better qualified than any of you here to tell anyone what to do, what the best option is. But I would say this is something which could help, and you could sort of say they could explore that if they wanted, because essentially welfare isn't Nightline, and if we were, they could just call Nightline. So, yeah.
I think the Nightline training was actually a really invaluable experience. I spoke to Davide before, asking what to expect, and I was a bit daunted. It was a bit daunting hearing what was to happen over the weekend. But I think having gone on it, I've matured even more in my sort of approach to talking to people, and you learn a lot more about sort of how to actually listen to someone rather than constantly sort of giving advice that actually isn't going to help anyone, and sort of relaying information about your own personal experiences which just aren't going to help their own problems. I think so from that aspect, although it was quite a draining weekend, and some very big issues were covered, I think it was really important to do, obviously, especially for welfare. But it's clear the two differ quite significantly, because Nightline, although you have drop-in sessions and you can call to speak to someone, it's very different speaking to a sort of a complete stranger and then actually going to a face you know within college, and sort of being reassured that you can deal with your problems and be directed in a necessary direction. So I think that the college welfare is sort of a nicer way to deal with your issues rather than just going to Nightline.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions? Ladies and gentlemen, they have 2 minutes speeches. We're nearly there. Come on, people. She's up first. Davide.
Okay, so I'm going to keep it short and sweet because I've been seeing quite a few yawns out there. So essentially, I just want to say I wasn't able to really express the idea that, yeah, welfare and Nightline are quite different. Welfare signposts, whilst Nightline is there for a listening ear, so therefore they do tailor different things, and I think welfare is just so great. We have the best welfare here, and I'd really be honoured to help you guys out. I think having had a 2-year experience, I've been able to really I'd be able to revolutionise welfare and just really hit the ground running if I get elected and just really assist you guys. Thank you.
I think my manifesto pretty much says why I think I suit the role, and I hope that you agree. Also, I think it's important to address the fact that I'm currently not a member of the welfare team, and I don't think that puts me at any disadvantage by any means. I've had a lot of experience in the past at school and work, so I think hopefully there I have the adequate experience as well as the Nightline training. Also, I'd just sort of like to thank everyone and wish luck to Davide and Stefan. I think whoever gets the role, I know will do a really great job, and I'm just looking forward to the year ahead, so thank you.
Written down the key points. First one, I think I've already mentioned this. It's not my manifesto. I'm accessible to a wide range of people. I think some people who might deem themselves lads and don't associate with the Hatfield welfare stereotype, I think they'd be comfortable coming up to me. I'm not a lad, but I'm trying. I've got 2 years direct experience in the welfare team, and you can't do a job better than having done it already. I've been working quite closely with Jamie. I know what is entailed with the job. I really know what's going on before I dive into it, because I don't want to turn up any unexpected surprises like, oh, we have 5 meetings every week about this. So I know what needs to be done, and I've had some experience doing some of it. I took minutes once. It was great. I've been doing a lot in the past 2 years in university. Some of you see me running around college a lot of the time, like sort of one meeting to another. And you might think that is a bad point in that I won't have time for welfare. But the main thing behind this is that I've experienced a lot, and now I really know what I'm passionate about, and it's welfare. And next year I'm aiming to concentrate all my energies into, well, Kinky Jeff, welfare, and then maybe the bar, we'll see. Also, I think I boast the teamwork sort of attributes, because I work with the ENTS team, and with the welfare team, and on the Freckle team as well. And I think also there's a good link between ENTS and the welfare team in terms of things like that. Also, I want to dispel this delusion that people might think that my housemate Nick runs my life. They're like, oh, he does everything for you. He only makes my raps for lecture. There's lots of things I've done without him: canoeing, I'm on the welfare team, the ENTS team, I'm in an orchestra, I'm in a band, and all sorts of things. And yeah, so essentially I think I can be organised, responsible, and I think I'll make a good JCR welfare officer.